Hello, and welcome to Husky Talk, Conversations with Cully and Conlon. I am your host, the best podcast host in the universe, Steve Cully. And with me, as always, UConn women's legend and current Western Connecticut State head women's basketball coach, Maria Conlon. Hello, Maria.
How are we?
Oh, we are fantastic. We are fantastic. It's great to see you and your daughter as well. And that's right, because are you guys on spring break this week?
She's on spring break this
She's
week.
on spring break. That's right.
Yeah.
There's no spring break for you.
No.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah.
What's a break?
Yeah, there's no break. It doesn't exist. It doesn't exist.
No.
So I wanted to start, obviously, because I assume that you watched the draft last night, the WNBA draft.
Yep.
Okay. So Paige goes to Dallas.
Shock, right? Big shocker. She went first.
Yeah, big shocker. Now they listed her as a point guard. Do you think that's what she'll play in the WNBA? I mean, she does it all, but
I think that she'll play a little point and she'll play, kind of similar to what she did
at UConn.
At UConn. Like,
yeah.
I mean, obviously she's got great court vision. I think in the WNBA it would be a grind for her to have to play that point position the entire game.
Right.
The beauty of her and the way she plays is she can play a couple of different positions.
Right.
I think what will work best is if they have another like pass first point guard that they can use and just kind of use her when that person either can't bring it up or is not in the game. But I think to utilize her best is really her at the two.
Because she's got her best game is her mid-range game, right? Would you say?
Yeah.
Her mid-range shooting.
I mean, the only difference really is that, I think in the WNBA it's very ball screen heavy. So, her ability to come off screens and read screens and find people open, I think they'll put her, maybe a little bit more at the point or on the perimeter for that. But yeah, I mean, her mid-range game is great. She can obviously shoot the three ball as well, but her passing ability is really good. Her ability to draw defenders and find people is really good. So
yes,
it'll be interesting to see how that plays out with the Rike there, because she takes a lot of volume shots. So I know that was a concern for some people, but she's a chameleon, Paige.
She's very impressive as a facilitator. Like when she facilitates, she gets everyone involved. I know.
Yeah, she's a force multiplier, right? So it's not just her scoring ability, it's her ability to find people when they're open, it's her ability to draw defenders that free up other people. So it'll be interesting to see, how that new coach's system will work and how they'll incorporate her with the Rike, and the other players as well.
Do you think it's going to be a difficult adjustment for her going to Dallas? Because I know that may not necessarily have been her top choice of where she would have wanted to go. Do you think it'll be a tough transition?
I think that we'll see, like, similar to Caitlin Clark last year.
Right.
I think that, there's definitely going to be like a honeymoon stage of just adjusting to the physicality, adjusting to the pace. Again, don't forget, she's just coming off
a
full season, right?
Yeah.
So like the wear and tear on your body. So I think that you'll see some of the normal rookie growing pains, but I expect her to be the front runner for Rookie of the Year and all that other good stuff, so long as she can remain healthy.
I couldn't believe how fast. I didn't know the draft was this fast. Like the week after the.
Oh yeah, because training camp starts in.
That's insane.
I think like a week or two. It starts pretty quickly because, they start exhibition games in May, and then the full season is in June. So you want like a full month
Yeah.
of training camp before you start those exhibition games.
And is this the first season? Did they extend the games in the league? They're playing more.
It's not much. I think it might be like 5 or
Two.
6.
Oh, it is 5 or 6.
Yeah,
Okay.
I think so. Maybe like a week or two. It's extended. So what does that equal? Maybe 4 to 6 games. Um, yeah, so they'll have that. No Olympic break this
Yes.
year. So you'll just have the All-Star break and go right through. So again, just a lot more wear and tear on your body.
And when will she be expected to be in Dallas? Is that something where she'll go like on a plane right now,
Oh yeah, like
or
this week
oh,
or
she's
next week,
there?
I would assume that she'd be out there.
Okay.
Um, I think she's already like technically graduated.
Yes,
I think she
probably.
walked last year. Um,
Oh, okay.
so she was just doing some grad programs now.
Some grad classes.
So I think probably the rest of her responsibilities on campus are pretty much done.
Yeah.
Um, so yeah, I would assume that she would be flying out to Dallas either this week or early next week.
Were you surprised that she signed a 3-year deal with that Unrivaled league?
No, I mean she's been an investor since the beginning.
Oh, she was. Okay.
Yeah, so no, not at all.
Okay.
I know that uh, like I said, she was an investor from the beginning, so
Yeah.
I would assume she'd be a part of
She,
it.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
She's a draw.
Yep.
And with the TV contracts they have, she's very important for that.
Yeah.
I was looking at a couple things. I was looking at the draft. The the number 2 draft pick was someone I had never heard of, and
Dominique.
you mentioned the players from Europe. She's 6'6". She's from France. Did she play professionally over there?
Yeah, and she was on their Olympic team that played us in the finals last year.
Okay.
Yeah, she's only 19 years old. So
Wow.
her upside is huge, Dominique. Yeah, she's going to be a stud. Again, I think she'll have to get a little bit more accustomed to the grind because overseas, you play like one game a week and you practice 5 days. It's going to be a
Yeah.
little bit opposite here. So I think, that'll be a little bit of an adjustment, but I think the speed and physicality she'll pretty much be used to. Because in Europe, the speed and the physicality is pretty similar to the WNBA. And she's going to be really, really good. Really, really
Yeah.
good.
Yeah. I saw some clips of her and like, wow. I
Yeah.
was shocked, and then to see
Yeah,
that
Seattle got a good one there. That was a nice pick.
19 years old, I was like, wow.
Yeah. Yeah.
I did not see that coming. Then the shooting guard from Notre Dame, Sonia went.
Yep.
What are your thoughts on her?
Yeah, I thought Washington. It's funny. The new head coach for the Mystics, Sidney Johnson. I actually coached his daughter at GFA for 2 years.
Oh.
He's a great guy. He's a good coach. He played at Princeton, coached at Fairfield U, and he was an assistant with the Chicago Sky last year. So this was his first draft as a head coach, and I thought he had. I thought he had a great draft. He got Citron, he got Kiki from USC, and then he got Georgia Amore from Kentucky. So I thought that he did a really good job in the draft. He kind of hit.
Oh yes.
He hit.
How did they end up with that?
I mean, they were bad last year. I think they had some trades
Oh, okay.
to get some picks too.
Wow.
So yeah, I mean, I thought they had one of the better drafts out of any of the teams there. Obviously they had the most picks in the first round.
Yes.
But I thought he had a very well-rounded, first round draft pick. So it'll be exciting. I think Sonia Citron, I mean, she could do a little bit of everything. She plays both sides of the ball. Really good defender. Can shoot it a little bit, has some mid-range. She's a 3-level scorer. And then, Kiki, obviously we've seen her play with USC.
Yes.
I think she'll be a force in the paint, and I think she'll play really great with Aaliyah Edwards, who's already there. And then Georgia Amore, I think, probably outside of Paige in this draft, is the most exciting player to watch. Um, she's small in stature, but the kid can shoot the ball. She could pass. She could.
Holy crap, she's 5'5".
Yeah, I mean, but and she's from Australia.
Okay.
So she started her collegiate career at Virginia Tech, took them to a Final Four, and then when her coach took the head coaching job at Kentucky last year, she went over with him, and Kentucky made it to, I believe, the Elite Eight this year, either Elite Eight or Sweet 16, I forget. But she's really, really fun to watch. Really fun to watch. So.
And then the other girl, lady you were talking about from TCU, Haley Van Lith, you thought she was very good as well, right?
Yeah, she went 11th to Chicago Sky, so she'll be
Oh,
great.
she would be Angel.
Yeah, who she played with for 1 year at LSU. So they have a little bit of camaraderie and a sense of playing with each other. I thought that was a good pick for them. So overall, I think some people did some things in this draft that could really help them this summer. And then, you saw late in the third round, Caitlin Chen got picked up by the Golden State Valkyries, your girl.
Oh, she did.
Yep. And then Aubrey Griffin got picked up by the Minnesota Lynx. So,
That's a great story.
yeah. So all three seniors from, Connecticut got drafted, which is awesome. So exciting stuff.
And I did see a couple of the South Carolina girls get drafted in the second round. There were three of them that got drafted.
Yep. Yep. I think some people were surprised they fell that low, but I felt that was about right.
Who do you like best out of the three?
It's kind of hard. They all bring something a little bit different.
Yeah.
And historically, Dawn's done a really good job of producing, kids that go on to be good pros. Similar to UConn. So,
right.
I'm sure that they'll fit in, and obviously they've already been coached really hard, so that adjustment will be easy. So yeah, I mean, overall, the drafts, I think it played out pretty much like everybody thought it would.
There weren't any real surprises, you would say.
I didn't think so. I thought maybe Haley Van Lith would have went a little bit sooner, but
right.
I thought she had a really good NCAA tournament. I thought she added some stuff to her game this year that helped her stock. But besides that, no. I mean, I figured she'd be a first rounder, which she was. Could she have slid up to the 9 or 10? Maybe, but I think she landed in a good spot for herself.
And then Washington also took Lucy Olson from Iowa.
Yeah, who played her first portion of her career at Villanova.
Oh, I didn't know that. Okay.
Yeah, she transferred to Iowa this past season, had a great year there. Yeah, I liked her as a pick. Like I said, I thought Washington overall.
Yeah, they stole the show.
Yeah, I thought they got some really great picks in this draft.
Yeah. No,
they'll be young, but I think that they'll be able to build with what they got.
How many returners do they have? Because I mean, they did draft quite a few players, so that's why I was curious with the returners they have.
Yeah, they're returning pretty much everyone. The only person that they're not returning is Elena Deladon, who retired.
Right.
Which obviously that was their marquee player. But she decided to retire after last year. And, besides that, they're returning everybody. So it should be an interesting training camp, to see who makes it through all the different cuts, makes that final roster.
Yeah. And it was good to see Caitlin Chen get drafted. That's so exciting.
Yeah, and she's from Cali, so it was cool to see her get drafted by Golden State. It'd be interesting to see. I mean, obviously they picked up some people in the expansion draft as well.
Right.
But there'll be a new up and coming franchise and city. I mean, that's a place that loves their sports. So I think that's a perfect fit for her.
The Washington coach that you mentioned
Mhm.
is his first time in the WNBA, or has he been there before?
He was an assistant coach with the Chicago Sky last year.
Okay.
So this will be his second year in the WNBA, first as a head coach. He's been working with USA Basketball for years on the 3-on-3 women's side. So, he definitely has some experience, coaching on that side. But this will be his first go around as a head coach there.
And what are your thoughts on Aubrey Griffith? A great story. I mean, she's fought through such incredible adversity and got herself back out on the court and managed to get herself drafted. Obviously, being a third round pick, it's a long shot to make the team when you're a third round pick. Do you think she'll be in the mix and have a shot at making the roster
Yeah, I think Aubrey.
when she's healthy?
Her athleticism and her energy, I think, is definitely something that can be a fit for someone. Whether it's this year or in the future or whatever. And I think that when you come from UConn and you're used to, practicing at a certain level and playing at a certain level, it's helpful.
Right.
So she's got that in her pocket. And, I mean, Aubrey's been one of the best athletes to come through UConn. So, I think that plays to her advantage. And I'm hopeful for her that she'll be able to make some noise during
Oh,
training camp.
wow. See, I didn't know her history. Can you tell me a little bit about her history at UConn? I mean, you're saying that she was one of the best athletes. Like, was she a premier scorer? Was she a premier, like getting a lot of minutes when she
Yeah, I
performed?
mean, Aubrey was starting until she tore her
Oh,
ACL late in the season last year. We
oh,
saw her kind of come back late this year and play, some limited minutes, but that's because she tore her ACL, I think, in March last year, in the beginning of March.
yeah,
So, getting back for the tail end of the Big East season and tournament this year was a little bit of a stretch. And she's had some other injuries throughout her career, but great kid, great athlete, great rebounder. She can defend. She's scrappy. Not a huge threat from the outside, but she's a kid that will go in and do all the little things, that don't necessarily show up in the box score. So, a nice pickup for Minnesota. They've already got two other UConn players there in Dorka and Nafisha Collier. So, they'll have a couple of UConn
right.
ladies in the mix, which will be nice.
And then I was looking at the transfer portal, and it was like, wow, I was just surprised to see so many women in the transfer portal that made moves. It started off with it looked like Olivia Miles, Cody McMahon. They committed to new schools, and they were like the top three with Lotson. I don't know how they say the first name. Tatiana.
Yep,
I said it right. Wow.
I think so. I
Good.
don't know. Yeah, the
But yeah,
transfer portal's been kind of wild.
holy crap. I know.
Yeah, I was just on it before, and it was just still there's a lot of talent in there. So, it'll be interesting to see where people land. Olivia Miles went to TCU,
Right.
which I think is probably a money play.
Of course.
But yeah, I mean, there's some really good kids in there, so I'll be interested to see where some of them land.
Yeah. I was looking. Tatiana went to South Carolina, which is huge. Olivia Miles, like you said, went to TCU. And like TCU, I was just surprised because I never would have expected them to have big money like that, where they'd be able to go out and get these players. And that's made a huge difference. And then you said initially, I remember the first day you kept hitting refresh, and there were like 1,000 girls that entered the portal. How many end up not finding a home and end up having to go back to their original school? Would you say
Um,
percentage
I
wise?
mean, listen, it's like once you enter the portal, I think it's really hard to go back to the
It
school
is.
you're
Yeah.
currently at. So I would say my guess would be that virtually none of them will go back to the same school. But
Okay.
you know, what do I know? I mean, it's definitely happened where kids have withdrawn and stayed. Um, but I think it's the majority end up finding another home because once you've made that decision and you've kind of announced that this isn't the right fit for you anymore, um, there's kind of it's like a sour taste, right? Like you're going, but he can't. It's hard to go back to a coaching staff and a team that basically you said you didn't want to be a part of anymore. So I would assume that most of them will find a house.
Were you surprised? Because this, I mean, if I read this right, I was shocked. The UCLA Bruins basically lost their entire freshman class, and London Jones is someone who it was on the team as well and is leaving. How does a team that makes it to the semifinals lose their entire freshman class?
I
That's
think,
crazy to me.
yeah, it's like writing on the wall. Sometimes you come in as a freshman and you have expectations of XYZ, and you get there and you realize either A, this is just a lot harder than I thought it was going to be, or, B, I don't see myself getting any playing time or whatnot. Um, I like that if you can figure that out soon enough, it's like, okay, we can go and make a change and find a home that's better for us. So I'm a little shocked to hear that because I like that UCLA coach. I think she does some really good stuff. Um, but it is what it is.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, that's the world we live in. That's what everyone's going to have to get used to now. I
Yep.
was just surprised, like, because typically a freshman class could be between what 2 to 5, 3 to 5 people you'll bring in as freshmen.
I mean, it really depends on how many scholarships you have available, right? So I think a lot of people are, saving some of that for kids in the transfer portal that they might be able to pick up. Because that's just a whole other variable that you got to account for now. Where in the past it's like who's matriculating when, and how many scholarships you have available. So I
Yeah,
think it really depends now.
yeah, yeah. Well, the news that had shocked me that was coming out of football actually was UConn was looking at a quarterback. Now, this quarterback, his name is Jaden. He started off at Florida and basically didn't get the payments that were expected. So he leaves Florida, sues them, and goes to Arizona State. Goes to Arizona State, doesn't play there, leaves, goes to Georgia. And he was on Georgia's team this past year, Jaden Rashada. He didn't play, and he went back into the transfer portal. So now UConn is looking at him, and it just blows me away that these kids leave on just a whim. They don't give themselves a chance. Like it used to be, if you weren't playing, if you weren't starting, if you weren't getting the minutes that you wanted, you trained harder in the off season, you worked harder in spring practice, you had a good training camp, and you developed and you became better. And then you worked your way into the lineup. Now it's simply, if I'm not playing, I'm just going to leave. I'm going to check out and leave. And the other situation was the quarterback at Tennessee. His name was Nico. Now this kid, he was getting paid NIL payments while he was already in high school. His senior year in high school, they started paying him.
Yep.
Okay, he goes to Tennessee. and he wanted to renegotiate his NIL contract. So this spring, he didn't do a whole lot. So the last 2 days they had Thursday, Friday, Saturday was the spring game. He missed meetings and practice Thursday and Friday, doesn't show up for the spring game Saturday. And then it's announced that he's entering the transfer portal. Whether it was the coaches just said, screw it, we're done, or he did it on his own. He's out. And it angers me because it leaves Tennessee with one scholarship quarterback, and they have one scholarship quarterback coming in who's going to be a true freshman. So it just ruins everything that they're doing. I mean, in the court, he was getting $2 million a year. And allegedly with his high school payments, he got a total of $8 million. Okay. He wanted a raise to like $4 or $5 million a year. Tennessee wouldn't budge. So that's what caused the issue. And he leaves. And his numbers weren't spectacular. He threw for like 2,600 yards. He threw 20 touchdowns, 5 interceptions. Our quarterback, Joe Figiano, threw 20 touchdowns and 5 interceptions. He doesn't get any money. So I don't understand the thought process behind a quarterback like that leaving Tennessee high and dry when they had a good team. Josh Heupel brought him along, and they had a much better season than they've had in a while. Now they lose their quarterback. They got to try to go into the portal and find one to replace him, because the guy that they have isn't game ready, and they don't know that he will be. And it screws everything up because for football, the transfer portal officially opens today. It opens today. So that's why I'm just disgusted by all this. And I just wonder what it's going to take. And I know we've beaten the horse to death many times. What it's going to take to finally put some guardrails on this and put some regulations. Now, at least, Maria, in the SEC, like the Tennessee quarterback and the Georgia quarterback, they cannot transfer to another SEC school. They have to transfer out of the conference. That is the one rule that they have, which is good. But otherwise, and you're seeing it. I mean, these kids are transferring 2 and 3 times. I mean, I just think it's too much.
Yeah. I mean, when you go through like when I look in the transfer portal, it's funny because if they have like a red MT next to their name, it means multiple transfers.
Oh, so, it does say that?
Yeah. And like I kind of just scroll past those because I'm like, it's like
you can't trust them.
At what point is it you?
Yeah. Yeah, exactly.
You know what I mean? Like all these places, just either you're not doing your homework or you're not as good as you think you are or whatever. The days of kind of grinding it out and being loyal. It's funny now. Like I saw something last week, right? There were players on both the men's and the women's basketball side that were posting that they're staying. Like announcing that they're going to stay and be loyal, right? And it's like,
yeah, they want to be. They want
that you're staying. It's like
recognition for it.
That should be like the assumption is that you make a commitment somewhere and you gut it out, right?
Yeah. And they're like, oh, I guess what? I'm staying. Yay!
Yeah, it's crazy. Like, oh, hey, run it back. Like, well, yeah, isn't that what you're supposed to do? Like, I'm confused.
I know, and I was thinking like. I was talking with Chris Bellamy about it, and he said he's all about the kids getting paid. He thinks the kids deserve to get paid because for 100 years the NCAA made so much money off the back of the kids. He has no problem with the kids getting paid. He has a big problem with the transfer portal. He thinks they should limit it to one time, and then if you want to transfer again, it goes back to you have to sit out a year, because it is just literally becoming way too out of control right now when you're seeing 2 and 3 transfers. And even when we were looking at the WNBA draft, like you said, there were girls that transferred 2 and 3 times. Like it's unheard of. And I couldn't imagine as a coach having to you have to re-recruit your own player almost to try to keep them and make sure they don't leave.
Yeah, I mean, retention is always part of the gig, right? Like,
Yeah, yes, of course.
Is making sure that your kids are having the experience, right? They are developing and getting better, and they see value in what you're doing. I think in some scenarios as a coach, you're kind of like, hey, please go into the portal, right? Like, this is not the right, because there's always the flip side of that, right? You recruit someone that you think has this tremendous upside, and then they get there and you realize that they're not as good as you thought they were going to be, or they're not going to work as hard as you thought they were. And there's that part of you that's like, oh man, I wish I could just tell this kid to go somewhere else, because it's just the writing's on the wall. Yeah. And by the way, they're still eating up a scholarship.
Yeah.
So I do see both sides of it. I think that, like if you look at the UConn women, right, like Cadence Samuels entered the portal.
Oh, she did. Okay.
She did, which is probably the right.
Shea didn't though, right?
No.
Okay, that was
Cadence was the only one that did. And I think that was a good move for her, because, it's just not working out for her there.
Yeah,
It's not for everybody. So, she leaves, that frees up a scholarship for them, and then she can go find a home that, hopefully will give her the opportunities that she wants. So I do think in certain scenarios it's good. I hate the jumping around for money thing. I find that to be
it's like
a
the
little
price
bit silly,
right.
but
yes, yeah.
Like, to me, it's like Olivia Miles going to TCU is like, okay.
Yeah.
I mean,
right.
It's kind of wild. Haley Van Lith, she was on her third college.
I know. That's what I couldn't believe. Yeah.
She should have never went to LSU. I don't think. I just didn't think that was a great fit for her. But, again, it's about a fit, and it's about, teaching these kids to try to find the right fit from the beginning. But there is something to be said for, you can go out and get a Caitlin Chen and get someone who's experienced, has a high basketball IQ, who's, been coached well for 4 years, and, can fit a need that you have for a year that helps you win. So there's both sides of it. I do think it gets kind of diluted to a certain point, and it is a little bit harder, because if you're not providing that value and the kid isn't necessarily getting what they want out of the program, you will see them jump. But, the programs that are doing, like, the kids that transfer out of UConn are not, it's not because like they're going to try to make money somewhere else. It's because they're not getting the playing time.
They want to play.
Fair, right? Like, it's just not for everybody.
I love that Gino doesn't typically take transfers.
Like, no, I think we've talked about it's got to be the right fit.
Yeah. I like that he takes freshmen.
Yeah, I mean, but they've historically done a really great job of developing kids too.
Always.
So I think that there's that piece to it, and trying to get that right, and then you have kids for 4 years, and they matriculate and they graduate and they go on to the next thing.
Yes.
So yeah, it's an interesting world, this whole transfer portal, NIL stuff, but it's just the nature of the beast now.
If you have had to have a hypothetical conversation with a player who has come to you and said, "Hey, Coach Conlon, it's not really what I expected here at WestCon. I'm thinking about transferring." How do you handle those conversations? Because, I mean, you're very easy to talk to, but you're also very direct and honest, and you don't bullshit.
Yeah, I mean, I think that at the end of the day, you have to remember that, you know, you're in this for the kids, right? Like
Yes.
you're in it to give them an opportunity and experience that they might not have if it wasn't through sports. And I think that you got to be respectful that, you know, your school might not be the best fit for everybody, even if they originally thought that it was in the beginning, whether that's academically, whether that's socially, or whether that's athletically. So I think it's important to give them their space to, you know, have that conversation and figure out what's what. And if it's a, playing time issue, it's like, okay, well, here's some things that you could have done to get more playing time. If it's an academic issue and, you just don't provide that at a college level, that's a different conversation. But I think it's just being respectful of whatever that space is for them.
And
And
transparent.
then, helping them find the right fit. Like I had a kid that we've been recruiting who a couple of weeks ago, just decided, financially or whatever, that Westcon wasn't the right fit. And they called me up and told me that. And then I was really respectful of that and said, listen, if
Yeah.
you ever need anything in the future, because I think you always got to leave doors open for
You
kids too.
don't burn
You
your
never know
bridges.
when they'll come back around.
Correct.
And the player was like, oh my gosh, I was so nervous to call you, but you made this really easy. And I just said, like, what are you going to do? It's not going to be right for everybody. And I think you have to be respectful of that space for them and help them navigate that. Because at the end of the day, it's about the athletes and it's about, them graduating college and starting the next chapter of their
And having a
lives.
great
So,
experience. Yeah. And I know you had a couple recruiting weekends. You got half of your class. Are you almost finished with your class for next year?
yeah, we've got like 10 kids already. So we're in a
Oh,
really
that's
good
awesome.
place. Now we're kind of to the point where it's like, we're gonna have some decisions to make come
Yeah.
fall.
Yeah.
Which is just another element that's really hard, right? Because
Yeah.
you build relationships with kids and
Yeah. But you got to win.
you like kids, but if they're
You got
not
to
getting the
win.
job done, it's like, what are you gonna do? So for us, I think that'll be the hard part for next year, but we'll do that, and I'm
But
excited for the
I
future.
mean, your roster was put together with spit and glue when you came in. I mean, you came in late. You had a smaller roster. You didn't have the most talent. The most talented girl you had, you found playing on the street. Came in Nia, I think her name was. So I mean, you didn't have a ton to work with, and now you got your people. You went out
Yeah,
and
I
you
mean,
recruit your
we
kids.
had a lot of freshmen this past year.
Yes.
Obviously, a
One
lot of them
senior.
we didn't recruit. Um, we kind of inherited, and yeah, now we've been able to kind of go out and pick up some D2 transfers and
Oh,
and
good.
recruit some people that you know fit our style and what we're trying to accomplish. And it's going to take time to build it, but I think we're in the right direction.
Yeah, I think you're in the right direction, and I think that you have a lot of support as well, which is good. You have a good athletic director. Your school supports you, and you are a phenomenal coach. So I think that helps as well. Any plans for Easter?
We usually do like brunch, like we go somewhere to eat and
Yeah,
then we just chill.
yeah.
Nothing too major.
No Easter egg hunts.
Uh,
Layla doesn't do
no, I
Easter
mean
egg hunt.
we'll like, we'll do that for Lincoln in the house and have him kind of like, look for some eggs and stuff. But yeah, it's pretty low key for Easter for us.
Okay. Well, I completely forgot to mention our sponsors. Procyon Partners, one of the top 50 fastest growing companies in the nation. They specialize in wealth management, employee benefits, and retirement planning. President Sean Rabinowitz, proud supporter of Husky Talk. He's going to get me a Tesla. Green Street Trust International, owned and operated by Rennell Jump. They save businesses, large and small, money on their taxes. They will either save you a ton of money or give you a big fat return. To schedule your free strategic tax planning session, go to www.greenstreettrust.com. Pete Finch and the Finch Law Firm is in Bridgeport, Connecticut. If you suffered any type of personal injury, a slip and fall, a construction beam hit you at a site, your mother-in-law tried to run you over with her car, the Finch Firm is for you. Pete has fought and won legal battles all over the state of Connecticut. He isn't afraid of insurance companies. He will get every dollar in compensation that you deserve. All you have to do is go to thefinchfirm.com. Dynamic Human Performance, owned and operated by Andre Dixon, UConn legendary running back. He has a 5,000 square foot state-of-the-art facility. He trains boys and girls of all ages, of all sports, and he just started a brand new athletic development program where he works with your kid in the sport of their choice and trains them, develops them from the ground up to help them reach their potential so they can be the best. And Andre has sent kids, boys and girls, on scholarship all over the country. Go to dynamichumanperformance.com and sign up to work with Andre. Down south, we have Julius Williams in the Trench Mob. He works with offensive and defensive linemen. They compete in tournaments and camps all over the country, and they are 4-0 right now. He has some of the most talented linemen I've ever seen in my life. I don't know what is in the water in Decatur, Georgia, but there is something. He's done a phenomenal job. He has sent kids on scholarship to Florida, Florida State, Miami, Clemson, Tennessee, Georgia, and Alabama, just to name a few. So if you want your kid to have a shot at a Division I scholarship, go to Julius, battleofthetrenches.com. Ned Von Young, fresh himself. He owns the Fresh Fold Laundry Company. It is a high-end laundry service, as he corrected me. You can schedule online. You drop your clothes off. They wash, dry, and fold them at lightning speed, and then you come and you pick them up. It's incredible. They also have many deals for college students. They're in Carborough, North Carolina, just outside of Chapel Hill. And if you are looking for any deals, just go to their website. It's freshfold-laundry.com. And I also have to mention Razul Wallace has his fundraiser this Saturday at the Swift Factory from 6 p.m. to 9:30 for the House of Changes. It's a good cause. The House of Changes supports men who have struggled with addiction, who have been incarcerated, who have dealt with homelessness, and he needs our help to raise money. He provides support for them with case management, social workers, and mental health experts. So if you're available, the tickets, we'll put the link. They're on Eventbrite. Go, be there. And Steve Cully is the keynote speaker, so you know you're going to get entertained. Make sure you're there, and I look forward to seeing people on the 19th. So I got everything in. Maria, as always, absolute pleasure to see you. Happy that you got your recruiting on a roll. Thank you for the analysis on the WNBA. Good to see your daughter, and I wish you and your family a wonderful Easter.
All right, man. You too. I'll talk to you next week.
And just remember, when life gives you lemons, don't make lemonade. Take 2 oranges and throw them right back at life.